What's up, y'all? So today's video is going to be about an article I came across called the Moynihan Report. I believe I'm pronouncing that right, but let's jump right in because I only got 10 minutes to get the information out to you. This is Daniel Moynihan. He was a American politician and diplomat and a member of the Democratic Party. He represented New York in the U.S. Senate from 1977 until 2001. And he also served as an advisor to the president, Richard Nixon. So this is what the guy looks like. And this was the report he did. It's a 93-page report, but I'm only going to hit the main points of that report. It was called The Negro Family, The Case for National Action. So he starts off by saying, in the new period, I'm reading for the third paragraph, he says, in the new period, the expectation of the Negro Americans will go beyond civil rights. Being Americans, they will now expect that their near future get equal opportunities. So he's talking about, he made this report because he was talking about after the Negroes won civil rights, that they were now going to be looking for equal rights. So that is what the topic of this paper is and this report is. It says the gap between the Negro and almost all other groups in America's society is widening. The fundamental problems in which this is not the most case is the family structure. The evidence is not final, but powerfully persuasive that the Negro family in the urban ghettos is crumbling. A middle-class group has emerged to save itself, but the vast numbers of unskilled, poorly educated, city working class of fabric of conventional social relationships has all but disintegrated. So that's basically what this is going to be. If you want to look up the paper for yourself and read it in its entirety, this is the table of contents that you would get, and you can just skip ahead to whichever parts that you deem that you would like to check out. So he's basically talking about how Black people were living in poverty based off the unemployment rates of the Black male. So he says almost 1/4 of Negro families are headed by females. So now he's talking about how the matriarch or how Black households became the head of the Black community. It says, as a direct result of this high rate of divorce, separation, and desertion, a very large percent of Negro families are headed by females. While the percentage of such families among whites has been dropping since 1940, it has been rising amongst Negroes. The percent of non-white families headed by a female is more than double the percent for whites. Fatherless non-white families increased by 6 between 1950 and 1960, but held constant for white families. It has been estimated that only a minority of Negro children reach the age of 18, having lived all their lives with both their parents. Then it goes on to say the breakdown of the Negro family has led to a startling increase in welfare dependency. The majority of Negro children receive public assistance under the AFDC program at one point or another in their childhood. So this says a 1960 study of aid-dependent children in Cook County stated the typical ADC mother in Cook County was married and had children by her husband who deserted. His whereabouts are unknown, and he does not contribute to support his children. She is not free to remarry and has had an illegitimate child since her husband left. Almost 90% of the ADC families are Negroes. The steady expansion of this welfare program, as of public assistance programs in general, can be taken as a measure of the steady disintegration of the Negro family structure over the past generations in the United States. I want to bring your attention to the fact that he says the ADC mother was married and her husband deserted her. It did not say that he was kicked out of the house because the woman wanted to receive welfare. It's saying that he left her to bear the children and his whereabouts were not known. So this is why I wanted to do a video on this, is because I want to put this narrative to rest that Black women kicked Black men out of the house. And as I continue, you'll see why that could not be further from the truth. Again, I only have 10 minutes, so we got to get through this really quick. It says since many slave owners, they're saying that slavery was the direct result of the breakdown of the black family as we see it today. It says that since many slave owners neither fostered Christian marriage among their slave couples nor hesitated to separate them on the auction block, the slave household often developed a fatherless matriarch or mother-centered pattern. It goes on to say, within the family, each new generation of young males learn from the appropriate nurturing behavior and supremos upon their biological given maleness. This learned parental role, when the family breaks down, as it does under slavery, under certain forms of indentured labor and serfdom, in periods of extreme social unrest during wars, revolutions, famines, and epidemics, on the periods of abrupt transition from their typical economy to another, this delicate line of transmission is broken. Men may flounder badly in these periods, during which the primary unit may again become mother and child, the biologically given, and the special conditions under which a man has held a man's social traditions and trusts are violated and distorted. He's basically saying that when men can't find jobs, they're more likely to abandon their families. Nobody put them out of the house. E. Franklin makes it clear at the time emancipation, Negro women were already accustomed to playing the dominant role in the family and marriage relations, and that this role persisted in the decades of rural life that followed. So this one is saying, consider the fact that relief investigators or caseworkers are normally women and deal with the housewife, already suffering a loss of prestige and authority in the family because of his failure to be the chief breadwinner. The male head of the family feels deeply this obvious transfer of planning for the family well-being to two women, one of them an outsider. His role is reduced to that of errand boy and from the relief of office. This makes it, if this makes it through the stage, so they're basically saying that black men back in this era felt intimidated and they felt unneeded because the social worker was a woman who was helping them, and then their wives had to enter the workplace because they could not find work. And then we're going to start at the red line here. It says, thus unemployment peaks 1 year before broken families, and so on. So it was the fact that these men could not find work, which caused them to abandon their families. Nobody put them out of the house. They left because they felt unneeded. The passport bros are doing the exact same thing. They're leaving because they know nobody wants them, and they're leaving because they cannot fulfill what American black women are asking them for. They know they cannot compete with us. They know that they cannot provide, so they are leaving to other countries where their money goes longer. It says the employment peaks 1 year before broken families, and so on. By plotting these series in terms of deviation from the trend and moving the unemployment curve 1 year ahead, we see a clear relation of the two otherwise seemingly unrelated series of events. The cynical swing is in unemployment, have their counterpart increases and decreases in separations. Divorce is expensive. Those without money resort to separation. So the husband would basically abandon the wife. The wife would find another man, and then she would start having kids with him. Now, of course, if you're married and your spouse walks out on you, your husband walks out on you, you can't get a divorce because you don't know where the hell he is. So that's why the number of out of wedlock births increased in the black community. It was not because black women were promiscuous. It is because black men could not provide for their families. They broke camp. They left. They abandoned them. Those women got into other relationships with other men who they could not marry because that man left married. And you can't get married twice. So this says, as jobs became more and more difficult to find, the stability of the family became more and more difficult to maintain. In 1963, 29% of all Negro male in the labor force were unemployed at some point during the year. Almost half these men were out of work 15 weeks or more. And then here at the bottom, it basically says that higher family incomes result in the stability of the family unit. So it is not about feminism It is not about black women kicking black men out of the house. This whole poverty and female headed household thing started because black men could not find work, and they've been blaming on black women ever since, as if it was our fucking fault that they could not find jobs and we did.